Hi everybody, it's Mary here again, and today I wanted to talk to you about some of our heroes in World War II, particularly one of them, Audie Murphy. And Audie Murphy is a Texas-born World War II hero, and he is person that had been turned down by the Navy and the Marines and the Air Force, and he went to join the Army, and they accepted him. Well, that was much to to the loss of the other services, because he became a Medal of Honor winner, and he became the most awarded member of the armed forces out of World War II. And part of the reason was that he was a very fearless fighter. And it's a very interesting story about his battle that he was in that won him the Medal of Honor. I have been reading some of that information, and I've been doing a lot of reading on World War II and Vietnam and things like that, so that's what kind of, plus the fact that I'd always liked Audie Murphy as a movie star. But he was a real, honest to gosh person who was a real war hero. So that's even made it even more intriguing. And I don't know what my camera is doing, bouncing all over the place. It seems to be in love with my file cabinet. So, anyway, this encounter that brought him the Medal of Honor award is very interesting, and of course it's written up by several different people. Each time they do one of these awards, they have to have corroborating information. And the account written by one of the gentlemen on his website is very interesting. It said on 26 January 1945, Company B was out in open country just beyond a tongue of woods near Holtzwihr, France, at about 1400 hours. The enemy counterattacked with a terrific punch. 6 heavy tanks started coming towards us with about 2 companies of German infantrymen following them. The assault was preceded by a 10-minute artillery concentration on our position. Second Lieutenant Audie L. Murphy ordered us to withdraw to positions we had prepared about 100 yards inside the woods. As we pulled back, the Kraut's infantry moved up behind their screen of tanks. The tank guns and machine guns were firing at us all the time. Lieutenant Murphy remained at his CP, and that means his headquarters spot, which he was under a tree in the open meadow, so that he could direct artillery fire on the advancing enemy. Together with a tank destroyer, which was across the main road and through the trees and about 10 yards to his right rear. He held the rear guard position under raking fire from the German tanks. From my position in the woods, I saw a direct hit from an enemy 88 millimeter gun smash into our tank destroyer. The crew piled out as fast as they could and withdrew towards the company position in the forest. A lot of smoke was coming out of the knocked out tank destroyer. It was slowly burning. The enemy ranks were now abreast of Lieutenant Murphy's position, rolling across the open field on both sides of him and firing at him with their cannon and machine guns as they passed. Two different types of shells struck all over the area. The lieutenant stood bolt upright, giving fire directions, although fragments from exploding shells cut through the leaves of the trees beneath which he was standing. The tank swept past him. All this time, Lieutenant Murphy calmly continued to direct artillery fire on the Kraut infantry, which was advancing about 200 yards behind the tanks. I saw shell after shell explode in the midst of the German skirmish line. These were shells Audie Murphy was directing with his radio at the Germans from our guns. Dozens of Germans were killed by our concentrations of firing, but the line kept moving towards us. As we engaged the Kraut tanks with bazooka and direct artillery fire, I saw Lieutenant Murphy climb on top of the burning tank destroyer while bursts of machine gun fire from the advancing infantry battered against the hull and treads. Though smoke was pouring from the open hatch, Lieutenant Murphy climbed on top and opened up on the enemy with the tank destroyer's .50 caliber machine gun. The destroyer was burning inside, and it was chock full of ammunition and gasoline. At any moment, the thing might have blown up. It was like standing on top of a time bomb. The Krauts threw everything they had at Lieutenant Murphy. As the destroyer had been knocked out with its 3-inch gun facing the enemy, he had to swing the .50 caliber around 180 degrees to engage the Krauts. And he had to fire over the open turret. That meant that he was standing on the tank destroyer chassis, exposed to enemy fire from his ankles to his head, and silhouetted against the tree and the snow behind him. As the infantry swarmed up towards the destroyer, they fired their automatic weapons and rifles at Lieutenant Murphy. I could see their white machine gun tracers smash against the hull and turret and then glance off. The small arms fire seemed to be converging in on him from all directions, and I don't understand yet how he came through it alive. Then about a dozen Germans worked their way up through a ditch to get him from his right flank. They advanced by stealth to within 50 yards of him. Then Lieutenant Murphy spotted them, wheeling his machine gun towards this new enemy. He fired bursts after bursts into the gully, killing the entire German force. The 6 German tanks faltered in their attack on their prepared positions because they had no infantry support. The tanks turned and moved through the woods towards Lieutenant Murphy's position, firing at him with their 88mm guns and machine guns. I could see Lieutenant Murphy fire his machine gun at the approaching tanks, forcing them to button up, then turn his weapon on the infantry, which was still advancing under a curtain of automatic weapons fire. Friendly artillery fire shelled the path of the cruising tanks, preventing them from overrunning Lieutenant Murphy's position. He shells from a type of shell from the German Mark 6 scored 2 or 3 direct hits on Lieutenant Murphy's destroyer. Flames burst from the hatch, and the whole tank destroyer was sometimes wrapped in bellows of smoke. When the smoke cleared after one of these shell hits, I saw that Lieutenant Murphy had been hit. His uniform was tattered and spattered with dirt, and blood was seeping through his torn trouser leg. Through all of this furious fire, Lieutenant Murphy stood in his exposed position and fired whenever the Germans attempted to advance. I saw him kill Krauts in the ditches and ground folds and on the open meadow. Assault elements rushed forward to within 10 yards of his destroyer in a desperate effort to swarm over it or set it ablaze with grenades. Lieutenant Murphy stopped and killed these Germans with machine gun fire at ranges of 10 to 20 yards from his position. Bleeding freely from his leg wound, his face black with smoke and dirt hurled up by exploding shells, Lieutenant Murphy fought on, killing a total of about 25 and wounding approximately 24 more of the enemy. I expected to see the whole damn tank destroyer blow up under him any minute. For an hour, he held off the enemy forces single-handed, fighting against impossible odds. When his last round of ammunition was spent, Lieutenant Murphy climbed painfully down from the top of the tank destroyer and made his way back to our company position. Although his wound looked really bad, he refused to wait for treatment. He reorganized the company and led us in an attack which swept the German force back into the woods they had come from. After he had done that, he stopped for first aid right on the field, but he wouldn't take evacuation. The fight that Lieutenant Murphy put up was the greatest display of guts and courage I have ever seen. There is only one in a million who would be willing to stand up on a burning vehicle, loaded up with explosives, and hold off around 250 raging Krauts for an hour and do all that when he was wounded. Lieutenant Murphy not only stood off one of the most rugged and determined squarehead forces I have ever run into, but he must have killed and wounded about 100 of them with direct artillery and 50 caliber fire. Signed, Anthony Abramsky, 27 February 1945. Obviously, he deserved the Medal of Honor, and that was a fabulous feat he did. I just can't imagine those guys having witnessed that and not have gotten out of their position to come and help him. But maybe they were all mesmerized by the whole thing, or maybe they couldn't easily get out because of the fire that the Germans were putting towards them. At any rate, it was a fabulous thing. And my heart goes out to the man. He died in 1971 at the age of 45 in an airplane crash, of all things. So he had a fabulous life. He had an amazing career as an actor after having done all of the fighting in the Second World War. He went into the military at the age of 17. If I didn't mention that, he had to have his sister sign him in. His parents were deceased. So it was just an absolutely fabulous life. And I just wanted to honor him again, and hopefully people will over the years, so that young people who have never heard of him or don't know him any other way than being an actor in old movies will understand that he was absolutely the truest type of hero there is. Thank you.